Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Colin Connection. I'm Will and joined by the Fossil down there in Patterson Lakes, or I should say up there in Patterson Lakes now. Fossil, how are you this week, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Will. Yeah, no, Will, it was good to beat the old enemy, get that 4 points, and in front of, I think they had 83,800, which is they'd be fairly happy with. But I think most of them were the Army Wolves, so it's good that everybody's getting behind the boys and five straight now. And our old mate Essendon did us a favour too. Will they knock over GWS? So that gives us a 10-point buffer, which helps a bit because we haven't got an easy run home. But no, the boys got the 4 points, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, any given Sunday, as they say, Fossil. I think the Giants kicked twice as many behinds as goals. So sometimes funny things happen. Funny things happen in this game of AFL. So anyway, that's good news for the Pies. And yeah, the obviously the Pies running out 90 to 69. Fossil, a nice little 21-point win, like you said, over the arch rival. Just before though, Fossil, we get stuck into your first thoughts. I just want to give a quick shout out, guys, to the Into the Woods podcast. It's a Collingwood show. They've been going since about 2024, Fossil. And if you're not already subscribed or listening to their show, I suggest to get across there. They do a nice work there. It's young Dermot and Michael Fossil, couple of good-looking roosters, I must say. And we did get a bit of motivation from listening to them to get on here and start our own show this year. So appreciate your work, guys, and appreciate the shout out last week. Michael's is another fossil down in Tasmania, just like myself. So he's a good man, and yeah, no, appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, and young Dermot, Michael might have named him after Dermot Burton. Well, he might have played like him. Who knows? But no, thanks very much for the shout out, boys. And you're doing a magnificent job. And like we're all on the boat, and hopefully the pies can go well. But well done.
Yeah, were you a couple of cheap shots like them that you reckon fossil, or you know?
I don't know. No, no. I tell you what, if he played like that, he'd be all right. I'm telling you.
Yeah, he wasn't a bad player. So anyway, Fossil, first thoughts. Big crowd, like you said, big occasion, and the boys' fifth win on the trot. So we're looking pretty good.
Yeah, no, no, no. It was a solid team effort. Well, I think all over the ground, we sort of helped each other out. There's always, your 3-2-1 players, but I just thought everybody sort of did their little bit, and it was fairly solid. Few turnovers, but they'd like to give me a heart attack. Well, we get 17 points or so up, and then they let him kick a couple of goals. It'd be nice if we could get it the other way and get about 40 up and then you relax a bit more. But that's football. But they got the 4 points, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. Very intense contest, and I think the fans alike from both sides a bit nervous. Always coming up against the arch rival, you want to get the result and rub a bit of salt into the wounds. And I think being close on the ladder, not like recent years, we've been, one or the other. Collingwood are usually above Carlton, from what my experience is, Fossil. But yeah, no, we got the more importantly the win, and yeah, no, we seemed to just get away from them. They kept coming back, so made for a good contest, but I think the maturity and professionalism of the Magpies got them over the line in the end. Really, what I took out of the game was two different sides of the table with how they were going to play the game. With Carlton very contested, very much winning the ball first and getting it moving forward, which they did fairly well during the night, even though Darcy Cameron dominated the ruck hit outs there, Fossil. But Collingwood transition from defense to forward 50. We got a lot of our goals from there, and they were very clean, the Pies, which is nice to see. And they did find the big sticks, Fossil, more often than not. So helps when you find the big sticks, you're a bit more accurate, and then yeah, made a bit of a buffer of it.
Yeah, 14-6, I think. Well, that's our best result for a while. But yeah, that sort of helps a bit because they had 19 shots to 20 and we still got by 21. So, it was a good effort in front of the goals, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, no, they did well. They did well. And it's good to see too. Well, I think the other positive is they're giving the young boys, a few more games in a row. And I think that'll only build with confidence and, with Pendles and Sidebottom and the experienced guys around them. Hopefully, they got a better future. So hopefully they get a chance and move forward.
Yeah, exactly. And so in that first quarter, we'll start there. Pies off to an absolute flyer, first three goals, Fossil, and it looked like it was going to be a nice, easy night for us. I know it seems like little things, but that Jordan De Goey, it's a mark or it's a free kick, and the umpire didn't call either. And then Carlton virtually go down and kick their first goal, and little things like that, very frustrating because as you could see De Goey's face, he wasn't too happy without getting the shot at goal. But and to Carlton's credit, really, from the time. Harry Mackay, a very innocuous injury there, Fossil. I think what we found out in the meantime, it could be a 4 to 6 week injury, but that might be season done. But anyway, the Blues seem to then dominate and get a bit of field position on us. And the next six scoring shots, they probably should have been up at quarter time, the Blues. So credit to them, but the Pies had a slender lead, 3 goals straight to 2-4 at quarter time.
Yeah, no, you're right there, William. And yeah, we're a little bit lucky, I think, with the smaller forwards, it might have taken the Pies a little bit to readjust because they would have been counting on Mackay being there the whole game. But in the second quarter, William, I thought like we had really good ball movement off half back and we were really keen. And it just makes so much difference when you're hitting your targets, and the boys look very good there. But then all of a sudden, they gave a few turnovers, Will, and Carlton got a couple of easy goals and sort of kept them in the game. But they keep attacking through the middle of the ground. I don't mind, but they've got to be spot on with their kicks because when you're playing the better side, you can't afford to turn the ball over too much. But it was good vision too from Long to Cripps to Goey for a snap goal. That was very good played by the young fella, and then Cripsy over the top. Defensive work, I thought, William, they were all excellent, working well as a unit. We didn't get high numbers, Will, in their stats, but if they can keep their players quiet, I thought they played very, very well. And I think, punching these guys, I think the more games you get under the belt, the more confident it's going to be. But like I said, it wasn't big numbers, but they're all doing their job. Houston, he had about 10 disposals. McKay, like you said, McStay kicked a couple of early goals and Dacos and De Go were in the game a bit more. And at half time, William was 6-2-38 to 4-6-30.
We seem to hold that slender lead, and we're winning quarters by another goal. We added a goal in the second quarter, the third quarter, and then finally got away in the last quarter. But that's a pretty consistent effort. And exactly right. Down back, Liam Buncher and Frampton. It's good to have those. I think that it was confirmed by McRae that Howe is due back this week, so that's just going to add another defender and make us move the magnets a bit more, like a push maybe Houston or Josh Dacos a bit higher up the ground. But just having those two solid key defenders, something that we haven't had mixing well since Moore and Murphy going back a couple of years ago. And we all know, unfortunately, what happened to Murphy. So Puncher, he's come in and he's just doing his role. He does the one percenters. And I've noticed that I think he's actually got a decent kick on him, Fossil. He hasn't had it too often, but a couple of times that outside kick he did last week against North Melbourne, and then he kicked a bullet pass to someone, I think it was side bottom on the wing last night. So he's actually showing he's got a bit of that skill, and he also left his man a couple of times to either put in a big spoil or take a contested mark. So I think we found one there, but fingers crossed. He's only early days, but signs look pretty good so far. And just 2 points out of that second quarter, Fossil, was Harrison. We've discussed this before, that the hardest position, one of the hardest position to plays, and I think it was a position you did back in your juniors, Fossil, about 100 years ago. But Harrison and Rowan Steele, that they get in that half forward position where they're free on the wing, and a couple of times going forward, Harrison was overlooked. De Goey could have hand passed to him, and then he either runs in to have a shot or hand passes it then over to West because his defender would be forced to come up. So we just seem like we left a few chances out there, and I feel for Harrison because as we saw as the game went on, they used him a bit more, and we started to get that run and spread going. So hopefully, review on Monday, the boys will look over that and just look to see if he's there because he was free a couple of times. He worked his ass off, but he wasn't given the footy and to give himself a reward for effort. So anyway, still pretty good game by Harrison. I think they better persist with him. And the other question I wanted to throw your way, Fossil, was at the start of the season, everyone was looking at the likes of Membry, Howe, Pendlebury, and Sidebottom, who I guess you'd say at some point during the year, everyone thought, oh yeah, Pendlebury will go on next year. It does look like it's Sidebottom's last year, but I'd be giving Jeremy Howe a contract. In recent form, I'd be giving Membry a contract. I want to know, what do you think about Sidebottom and Pendlebury as it stands right now?
Yeah, like you said, I think Sidey, I think it might be his last year, Will, and Pendles it might be too. Like well, we've only got a 5-day break next week, and there's no way knowing that two of them can play on Thursday night in Adelaide. So I think one of them will go. But like with memory, like you said, we're not paying him big money, William. He's doing his job, and I think maybe another year, then it gives those other kids a chance to develop. While they're still around him and McStay, and probably teach him. But Jeremy Howe, you can't fault his form, William, as long as his body holds together. I think he's been absolutely magnificent down in the back line, and I think he's a good one to come back against Adelaide because they're pretty strong up in the forward line. They've got a few big key forwards, so he'll be great to get back. But yeah, no, I think probably Pendles and Sidey might be their last years, but we'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, probably one of them will have a spell this week after with the 5-day break.
Well, yeah, you answered a couple of my later questions, Fossil. I said changes for next week, so I guess Jeremy Howe in, and looks like side bottom or probably Pendlebury is my guess, but he might get rested. And interesting what happens with Isaac Quainer. He did play out the game, so he's a bit tougher than Harry Mackay, as they say. But no offense to Harry there, but yeah. So hopefully IQ can keep in together next week. With Membry, he's kicked 13 goals the last 5 weeks, and Jeremy Howe is probably aided from the fact that if Frampton and Puncher can take the two big keys, so next week it looks like Fogarty might get suspended, so Tex Walker and Thilthorpe, then that lets Jeremy Howe play his, intercepting, and he's got an elite kick on him. I don't know why that's a secret to anyone. He's always been elite kick, so that just frees him up to do a bit more of what he loves to do naturally. So and a fair call there on the two champions. Obviously, we don't want to, kick them while they're down, sort of thing. But I just think side bottom, the pace of the game, and Pendlebury just making a couple of mistakes at hand pass where McGovern kicked the goal. We're not used to seeing Pendlebury do this sort of thing, Fossils. So whether it's just a couple of things, but yeah, I just noticed that he's just last few weeks he's just looked that half a second slower than he's usually the one making it look like it's slow motion. So anyway, just something I noticed.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there, Will, because, these young kids are coming in now when they can run like the wind. And, that's probably the first time Pendles probably did that in his whole career, William. But these things don't happen, unfortunately. But, yeah, the pace of the game, it just seems to be getting quicker and quicker and quicker, Will. And who knows what they'll do next year with their rule changes. I don't know whether they want to try and make it quicker again or, have another one on the bench. Who knows what they'll do.
Yeah, well, I did catch Cameron off guard this year in the ruck, and maybe you're right. That is catching these older players off who, young sides like Richmond, they have quick players that want to come in and, definitely for the first 3 quarters they give it 110%. So anyway, we'll see
Exactly.
what happens, and there's still 5-6 weeks to go, and hopefully we can still qualify for that top 10 in the third quarter. So we got out to a buffer again. We got out to that 14-point lead, and McStay, hard to be critical on a night we were so good in front of the sticks, but he missed a set shot from 25 directly in front. And I think Carlton got on a bit of a roll. They, snapped two quick ones, and then that 50-meter penalty from Ned Long, it touch and go. He didn't think that Cameron threw it, but anyway, he gave away 50 and Carlton go in front. And I just thought this is a time for someone to really stand up. And Sam Walsh was running forward again. They got another centre clearance. They were about to go inside 50, and Ned Long, huge tackle from behind, just absolutely obliterated their momentum because Collingwood went straight down and kicked another transition goal from our defensive half. So big credit to Ned Long there because we kicked that next one, and then Ned Long himself kicked the one after that. So every time Carlton got back into the game, we just seemed to have that response and hit them back again. So yeah, it was pretty much 3 quick goals for them, then Collingwood kick another quick 3 goals, and we're holding on to what wasn't a comfortable lead, but a 14-point lead at three-quarter time, Foss.
You're right there, William. Yeah, well, at the start of the fourth quarter was a bit of the same. Well, both leg lines were holding fairly firm, and the ball was zinging up and down, and it was just a matter of who could probably hang on and then break away. But I thought the Pies' pressure, William, it was excellent on the ball, and that caused a couple of turnovers. And then Houston got a goal, and Anderson got a goal. But I'd like to make mention, William, of the new Collingwood goal kicking coach. I don't know who he is, but out of the 14 goals, William, 8 of them were snapshots. So who's ever taken over the goal kicking cage, mate, I think we just snap them, William. When they're 30 or 40 out, they can just have a snapshot because 8 out the 14 was for snap goals, but they just kept themselves enough in front, Will. But I thought, yeah, Anderson Long, they were very, very good. But our forward pressure and our tackling pressure, Will, I thought it was excellent. At the last quarter there because when the game was still in the balance. But I'll just tell you a story, William, about that half forward flank, William. It's the hardest position on the ground to play. They call it the graveyard, William. And I think, the half forwards in the game, they probably, it's a very tough position. If the ball's coming off half back to half forward, they're in the game. But if it's coming out the centre now, all they want to do is get it down quickly down to the forward line, try and get our big fellas one out. So unless the ball comes out from a bad kick and they happen to mark inside the 50, most of the time they're outside the ground. So I'd like to know, William, you can probably look this up. You're the stats man. Who the leading half forward flank and goal kicker is for the year, but I don't think it'd be very high. But I thought young Harrison, he had 13 disposals, 5 marks, 2 tackles. And like you said, they missed him a couple of times, William, and I think he'd be able to put a couple of goals on the board. We'd be all seeing and praised. But the boy, he tries his guts out. So hopefully they stick with the young ones, Will, because they're going to be the future of the side. And, we kicked 3-2 to 2-1 in the last quarter to run out 21-point winners. And the 4 points was magnificent.
In times gone by, Fossil and Collingwood were always the most comfortable team in close finishes, and just seems like this year, game against Hawthorn, game against Gold Coast, we've been up by, two and a bit kicks with no time on the clock, and somehow we give them a look. So I wasn't convinced, and I think it was Cottrell who kicked that late goal, but just before that, you said we kicked 3-2 for the quarter. Bloody Pendlebury and Anderson, I think it was, 2 easy misses, 25 metres out, almost directly in front. I thought, just put the nail in the coffin, and it wasn't until 2 minutes to go, Ned Long goes back and flushes that goal. I thought, okay, thank God, we've actually buried them officially now. So anyway, they just like to keep us on the edge of our seats, and maybe they've got money invested in defibrillators, Fossil, because it's never a dull moment with Collingwood. Yeah, no, we're very happy with the win. Obviously, that's 5 in a row, like I said, and 14-6, very accurate 90, defeating Carlton 10-9, 69. We'll see if you got some negatives out of that one, Fossil.
Yeah, no, not really, Will. I think you're just turning the ball over. Like we get into that position where, we should be burying sides, like you get that bar up and then you miss a couple of sitters, you got to be careful. Like we've been lucky, but, when you come up against the good sides, Will, if we're not taking our opportunities, especially when we're in control of the game, it's going to absolutely kill us, come back to bite us on the butt. So that was probably the biggest thing, William. We get 2 or 3 up and then we probably should be another 2 or 3 up, but for some reason, they like to keep it close. Maybe they don't want the Fossil round next year, William. That's why they're keeping it close.
Uh, let's not say that, Fossil. No, you got a few more years, hopefully enough to see another 3 or 4 premierships, Fossils. So fingers crossed. No, yeah, it is disappointing those turnovers, but yeah, it wasn't a lot of negatives, like you said. The side just really played a good team effort, and if you have key defenders like Frampton and Puncher. I know McStay didn't have many touches, but he still kicked his 2 goals and contributed. So, if those are sort of guys getting the lower stats, then you've had a good game. So, yeah, just wanted to touch on the positives. And Charlie West for me, 11 disposals, 7 marks, 4 contested, and that goal. He just needs to persist. They need to persist with him now, Fossil. He complimented Membry and McStay very well. And I just wanted to point out too, I missed it in that third quarter, I think it was. Membry crumbed one of his snaps around the body. It was Charlie West, so he was going up, I think, against young Dirksen, their defender, and also Harry Dean came off to spoil. But Charlie West knew he was under the pump and these guys were right on him, so he actually decided to spoil it himself. So he was actually the one who got the fist down and then, fell straight to Membry, basically snaps a goal. So he's got a bit of footy smarts about him, and I just think they need to persist with him now. He's, we gave Buller, hopefully Buller can go back to the VFL and prove himself and keep improving. But Charlie West, if we give him a good run at it, another 3-4 weeks and just start getting games into him, I think those 3 together can really complement themselves for the back half of the season. So yeah, anyway, it was
Yeah, yeah.
nice
No,
to,
yeah, I think, sorry, Will, I think
you're
you're
right.
spot on there. Well, yeah, he's got a nice pair of hands, hasn't he? He did punch that ball clear, William, so which was very clever. And I think, like you said, it's like the other kids will. They give him 3 or 4 in a row and see how he goes. And I'm sure, he can kick a couple next week and then his confidence will be up again. And I think all looks well, but he looks a good prospect, Will. And I like the way he attacks the ball. So hopefully, like you said, with him, remember him stay there, at least we've got 3 good targets to kick too.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how they go going forward. Fossil, your CC Player of the Year votes. Fossil, give us your 3, 2, 1.
Very hard again, William. I had to give Dacos 3, Will, I tell you. I'll tell you what, the old fossils is bad. I said he'd get 36, Will, and he got 36. I'll tell you, I should be in this competition, William. He had 36 disposals, 4 marks and 2 tackles, so I gave him 3, Nick. Cameron, 18 disposals, 3 marks, 2 tackles, 39 hitouts, Will. It was very even. And I gave my third one to Ned Long, Will. I thought he did really well. Ned, he had 16 disposals, 4 marks, 6 tackles and 2 goals, which was a nice contribution. I thought he did very well, the young fella. So they're my 3, 2, and 1. Will?
Yeah, well, those top two, like you mentioned, pretty well standouts. Fossil, young Nick. What can you say? It's not so much his stats this week. Like I know he got 36, and once he gets the ball, you just see him take off like a jet. I think at one point Paddy Chris was chasing him, and it looked like a ruckman chasing chasing a smaller midfielder. He just put the jets on,
Yeah,
and off he went. But I just like to point out that his influence on the game, particularly last night, was that Carlton were putting a lot of time into him. They were running different players with him, and you saw like he'd get the hand pass off, and then he'd always look for the 1, 2. And most of the time, a Carlton player would just go straight to Dacos and forget about, the other players in the region. But I think that's working to our advantage because it just opens up. It opens up the corridor, opens up for the likes of De Goey, Pendlebury, and Allen. They all hit up players inside 50, and a lot of that started from Nick Dacos, just getting the ball out first. And then the opposition are so worried about what he's going to do. Like there was that play earlier in the game. He took the kick out, got the hand pass back. He kicked it to the next guy, got the hand pass, and then that led to Goey dropping Cripps on his ass and Membry kicking our McStay kicking our first goal. So he has such a big impact on the game, but now it's not just what he does with the ball. He's running from a contest is going to make sides guess about what he's doing. So anyway, we love to have him, Fossil, and like we said last week, too bad Peter couldn't get a couple more cost boys
yeah, yeah,
running
no,
around.
no, you're right there, Will, because that's exactly what happened. Because I think Chris' opponent went to him, and then
Mm.
they got it out to Crispy, and then like you said, the guys around, if their man's going, well, they know to go because somebody's got to be spare. And Chris, he read it like a book. Crispy, he just took off. The ball ended up his hands, and we got it down into the forward line. But if they're going to do that, William, well, that's what we've got to do. Open them right up, and the player that's free, they've got to run hard, and hopefully we can get in the ball and get that overlap going.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry, my 2, 1 vote, Cameron as well. And I like the way that not huge marks, 3 marks, I think you said, but he got back and
Yeah,
clogged the hole. And when I know that they lost Mackay early, but just to stop any sort of contested marking, that pretty much went out of Carlton's game. Yeah, from the time that Harry Mackay went off, but he just plugs up the holes. So the likes of Dirks and McGovern and Reedy, when he went down forward, they just couldn't clunk anything. So, that's obviously going to help our defense. And my 1 vote went to Timmy Membry. Another great game. Like I said, 13 goals the last 5 weeks, but just his competitiveness, Fossil. Maybe a guy out of contract, as they know he's really competing for it, but no, absolutely loving his work. And yeah, he's putting his hand up in my eyes for another contract next year. He's not going to be on the biggest money, so I just think the Pies, as much as people want to say, "Oh, get games into West and get games into these kids," well, you've also got to have him there just in case. We've seen this year that forward line didn't have Steen, Elliott, Hill. You could rattle off a few players that we're missing, but yeah, that's why having a guy like that on the list is just going to be a big benefit coming next season. So
well, that's
anyway,
right.
hopefully he can
You're
go from
spot on
strength
there.
to strength. And Dacos obviously leading Fossil. He's about 3 times the next guy. I think it's Dacos, DeGoey, and your mate Houston. So yeah, let's just hope the umpires are doing the right thing by him and just actually see what he's doing like we do Fossils. So fingers
Yeah.
crossed. we'll move on then, guys, to the CC. Sorry, it was a game day prediction. The $40 voucher was up for grabs, Fossil. Our selected players ended up with 59 disposals and 6 goals between them. We had one person guess 60 disposals, so one touch off, and another person guessed correctly the 5 goals, but got the disposals correct. So very, very close this week, guys, but no cigar. That means that next week when we go against Adelaide over there, we're up to $50 voucher, Fossils. So very close.
Beautiful.
But yeah, just one touch, another day cost disposal would have done it. So
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, well, as long as you keep having a crack, Will, that's the main thing. Because I think the old Foss was pretty close too, were you? I said to the go, he had 31, he had 29, and I had McStay for 3 and he got 2, so I wasn't far
Yeah,
off the mark.
keep pumping up your tires,
I
Fossil.
might, I
That's
might have a crack. I might have a crack at it myself next week,
no, no,
Will.
no. Conflict of interest. Sorry, Fossil. You're not allowed to, but
No,
yeah,
no,
no.
no, no, no.
Well
No, they're
done.
doing well.
Well done on your own personal ones there too, Fossil. Just keep a tap going. Yeah, and like we said, guys, so no VFL this week, Fossil, unfortunately. So hopefully the boys can get up and about next week. I believe they might be playing St Kilda, so team around their sort of mark there. But we do have a message in from a fan, Fossil. Ryan Stokes. He said, Fossil, the Oz kickers rang and they want their hat they want their hat back. We need to have a chat about your get up. So thanks for
Well, you tell Stacey he go get stuffed. He wouldn't
yeah.
know his ass was on fire, William. I'm telling you. Wait till I see him. I'll get stuck in him. This hat is worth a fortune, William. Absolute fortune, this thing. If I can't take it down to the club, Will, we might get 3 mil for it. So we'll see what happens at auction.
So is it
Beautiful hat.
it's an antique, is it, Fossil? It's that old. It
It
goes
is a
back.
magnificent hat, William. I think we were 1892, the pies. If it's an 1892, it will should be worth a bob, mate. I'm telling you.
Well, and just for clarification, Stokesy works with Fossil, but I don't think he's
Yeah.
wrong, Fossil. Maybe he means your shirt. Maybe we've got to get a bit more black and white, Maybe
Well,
maybe.
I've got the black behind and white away. Will I'll wear the white on Thursday,
All right, all
Wednesday,
right.
whenever
Stokesy,
we do
look,
the game after the game.
Stokesy goes for North Melbourne, so he doesn't know what winning's about anyway. So you'll be fine, Fossil. You look like you're
Yeah,
in good form. So
yeah, I'll
yeah.
give him a serve tomorrow. When I see him at work, I'll get stuck into him.
Nah, sounds good. And like I said, guys, massive week coming up. This one's going to be fiery, Fossil. The Adelaide Crows. Collingwood went over there after finishing fourth. We had that first spot locked up for most of the year, but we knocked off the Crows on their home turf, and I reckon, along with the fans, they're going to be absolutely feral, and that's what footy is all about. So it's going to be a massive clash. I'm guessing you're predicting one change, Fossil, Jeremy Howe back, and one of the old fellas out.
Yeah, I think so. Well, yeah, I can't see because the twos didn't play. It's very hard, for Steele and Ryan and these sort of guys. So I think if Jerry Howe's fit, I think they'll just make the one change and one of the older boys because the 5 day break doesn't suit them. So depending who's probably pulled up the fittest, I'm not quite sure. How many games has Pendle played in a row now, William? Is that his first one back? He had the
No,
week
no,
before,
no,
didn't
no.
he?
He played again. I think it was against North, and even
Yeah,
in that
right.
game though, he looked a little bit off. Did he play against? He might have played against. No, he didn't. He got late withdrawal against Gold Coast.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
played
he's only
against
had the
North.
one
He looked
back.
a little bit off, and no, he's at 2 now with the Carlton game.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm predicting if they stick to what it's been like, then maybe Pendlebury doesn't go and Sidebottom, goes instead. So anyway, we'll wait and see when the teams come out on Wednesday
Yeah,
night, and that's probably when yeah, we'll look to do our preview. We'll do a write up on our page Flag Pie. So thank you guys. Thank you for all your engagement throughout the week, and also the new subscribers to our channel. Thank you to the Into the Woods show for a shout out there, and likewise, guys, you'll enjoy their work as well. Another Fossil and young fella, but until then. Next time, guys, thank you. And remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And another big week, Fossil, coming up. The Pies are just gearing up, maybe just in time for that September action. So fingers
yeah,
crossed.
no, you're exactly right. Well, yeah, this is going to be massive. This one, if they can snag 4 points over there, well, I think everybody will be very happy. But it's going to be a tough game. But I'm sure the boys will get over there and give it their best shot.
All right, guys, until next time, go Pies. We'll see you
Go
then.
Pies. See you, Will.